I've realized that like not only am I wildly relationship oriented, but the reason that people still talk to me and work with me years and years and years later is because they became a different version of themselves in that process. And really, if you think of some of the most iconic brands, I'm talking like 100-year-old brands, their customers will literally be buried in the brand because of how much they self-identify with what the brand stands for. It's unbelievable.
Welcome to the School of Becoming podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Litt. Hello, 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 you gorgeous, gorgeous souls. Welcome to an incredible conversation on the School of Becoming podcast about identity, but not in the typical way that we always dive into it. I have an extraordinary woman here with me, Veronica Romney. She is not only all the things I'm about to say, because I need her to hear and receive who she's been in the world and what she's done, but she's personally impacted me. She's personally impacted our brand, my life, our friendship. So first, let me just say, V, I love you.
I'm like, are we gonna start crying at the beginning of this podcast?
This is the Tracy Litt podcast. We're going to cry. So for all of you that might have been living under a rock until right now, Veronica Romney is the master marketer. She's an international keynote speaker, podcast host, and author, which we're going to be diving into, with almost 20 years of experience helping elite brands transform their marketing strategies. She is a former speaker and trainer for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. She was chief of staff for Boss Babe, director of marketing for a $2 billion software company. She's seen the industry evolve from every angle. And V, I would argue you are about to be the catalyst that evolves the marketing industry again now via what you are bringing to the table. She owns the Rainmaker Residency. Her podcast is called the Rainmaker Podcast. I've been a client in her Rainmaker program, and she has two adorable little boys. So welcome to the show. I gotta say, welcome to the stage.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny because my word for 2025, like later today, Tracy will get a kick out of this. I'm taking my first ever singing lesson. Not because I can sing or have an aspiration to like try out for American Idol or The Voice, but because I feel like my word is performer. Like 2025 is the year of stage. It's the year of voice. It's the year of a projection of a message unapologetically. And so I'm like, what better way to tune that in, but then taking singing lessons and really get discipline over my voice. So this will be interesting.
I love it. I love it. I love it because it's going to do a few things that one you might already be aware of, right? It's going to help you take yourself less seriously.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Like in that kind of anything like singing, performance, improv, it just pushes you out in a way where you're like, okay, whatevs, I'm good. And when you sing, you regulate your nervous system because of what your vocal cord does to your vagus nerve. So it's also going to be like the gift that keeps on giving.
Ooh, so I just celebrated my 15th year wedding anniversary in November, and we went to a nervous system regulation retreat in Mexico. And so I was learning a lot about this and just we were screaming and we were chanting and we were doing breath work. And that's all. Yeah, it's 100%. I didn't even connect the dots. Tracy Litt, you're right. I will be regulating my nervous system. That's fantastic.
It is. It is.
I need it. Yeah.
So good. Okay, so let's go back in time before we go into this brand new paradigm you are dropping in the marketing space.
Yeah.
What was Veronica like around 5, 6 years old as a little girl?
So full disclosure, I have always been this spicy and sassy. And then I went through a dark period where I had no self-esteem, which is the irony, because I tell people that I was really shy and I just didn't own myself and own who I was. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm way overcompensating now. Don't worry about it. But little girl Veronica, I have this picture. That's so funny that you bring this up. I have this picture and it's my favorite picture because it's a little bit of a side profile. And I'm wearing this little one piece because I'm from South Florida. My parents are Cuban immigrants. And I'm sitting on the beach with my family. And I have a shirt and the letters, big letters that spell fun, F-U-N. But because of the angle of the bathing suit, it just says F-U. And I'm wearing these sunglasses and I'm giving a fierce face. It's one of my favorite little pictures of me as a little girl because I'm like, she always knew. And so, yeah, like I've been very fortunate. I have parents who have wildly poured into me self-confidence, belief, support, unconditional love, and oh, it makes me emotional, but like I've been very, very, very blessed by having the structure in the family that I've been raised in.
So it's so beautiful and feel more of
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
right? Because that's part of your identity. And there are parts of our identity that we look to evolve. And there are
Totally.
parts of our identity that we want to stay and keep really honed and front to
Mhm.
heart. And
Mhm.
that's one of those. So I love
Yeah.
that. So beautiful. So
Thank you.
beautiful. So it sounds like the zesty, spicy FU version of you, like that has been a thread in all of your identities.
I think so. I think so. I mean, certainly even in corporate, because I graduated high school just because of where my birthday landed. I graduated high school at 17. I went to school at 17. I graduated at 20. I was working in the corporate world. Like, I mean, I couldn't even drink. Like I was just, below the line. So like I've always been really young in very big rooms. I've always typically been a solo or one of very few women in rooms. I know that you and I share this in our corporate background. So
Mhm.
like you know what I'm talking about. And so I've always had to really put out that energy. And I've had to learn a lot about that too, because that's a lot of masculine energy as well, which is not always that helpful. So now it's funny, fast forward, I'm 37 and I've learned to hold space for both the femininity and the masculine part of me, the masculine that gets so much achievement and fulfillment in doing awesome, epic, FU type of, energy
Yes.
things. And then learning to soften and receive. And especially the irony is now I raised two boys.
Mm.
They're seeing mom do both, which has been really fun to watch my boys embrace that too in themselves.
Yeah, it's such a gift to them, especially when you're raising boys, for them
Yeah.
to witness the feminine energy in you
Yes.
and the feminine energy in your husband
Yes.
and watch
Yeah.
that interplay. It's so vital for every identity and in every way we talk about it.
Totally.
So, beauties that are listening, you're going to probably want pen and paper. So you can pause us and get it or listen once, then go back. But I said at the beginning, we're going to talk about identity, but in a little bit of a different context
Yes.
because we talk about our neuroidentity evolution, right? And we're helping you become what Veronica has just gifted the world is an entirely new approach and paradigm on marketing known as, I'm going to drum roll us, identity marketing.
Yeah, the
Which
angels
I
sing.
can't, when you first were like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. I just need to tell you, as a
Oh,
highly conscious leader in this space,
yes.
the gratitude that came through my body.
Oh.
Because one of the things, and you're going to break it down because this is your body of work, but one of the things
Mhm.
I knew that meant for me as a leader and a marketer, because if we're serving the world, we're marketers as well,
Totally.
is, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for giving us a solution to eradicate low level tactics, FOMO, sales site, like all the stuff that you know, because we've worked together in
Preach.
this lens
Mhm.
is just
Mhm.
like gross and over and we're done. And I know you and
Yeah.
I have been part of a lot of big conversations about like 2025 and how things are evolving. And
Mhm.
what worked before is over, done, gone, gross. Get it away from
Mhm.
you because we're going to trust our buyers and people are smarter and more discerning. So then it's like, how do you continue to kick ass?
Yeah.
Because in order to change lives and make impact and make money, we
Mhm.
have to market and it has to resonate. So I just want to say thank you before you even break this down.
Well, thank you. That means a lot because you have been in my world for some time. You've been in my marketing. You've seen my marketing head. You've seen my brain and how it functions. I've been in the room with you. We've watched Bad Moms together. Like we've gone real deep and then played. And then like you also interested in me to like train your team. And so like it means a lot coming from you. And I'm really excited to be on this podcast because I'm talking about identity in the sense of how do we invite our customers to become something rather than just buy from us. This is the best part. I'm talking to an identity master herself because of the work that you do, literally helping women understand who their truest selves are. And then obviously empowering them to like really like live that out in all the work that you do. So this is gonna be a really juicy, I think fun conversation between the two of us because I'm not an expert in what you're an expert and I am an expert in marketing. And so we're gonna bridge that gap. And I think for me, it's like after 17 years of harnessing this gift of mine or working this craft,
Mm.
like, it makes me sad that people are like, "Oh, I don't like marketing," or "I hate marketing," or "I loathe marketing." I had Seth Godin on my podcast, who's kinda like a marketing legend himself, and he's like, "When people say that, what they really are saying is, 'I don't like marketing that doesn't work or doesn't work on my behalf or for me.'" And I was like, "Oh." So, like, I think marketing it can be triggering for some people if you've been the recipient of some really shitty marketing that made you have immediate buyer's remorse and you couldn't get out and you felt like a hostage in a situation. You're like, damn, I like it. And it really frustrates you. And then you also get mad at marketing if it doesn't help you sell your services, your offers, your products, if you're in that position where you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner. So marketing often gets wrestled with, and then there's hopefully, right? There's the good practitioners that don't give up the good fight, and that's me. Like I refuse to give up the good fight. And I just in reflection of some of the best marketing that I've been a witness to or that I've personally exercised in my own programs and things like that, I've realized that like not only am I wildly relationship oriented, but the reason that people still talk to me and work with me years and years and years later is because they became a different version of themselves in that process.
Mm.
And really, if you think of some of the most iconic brands, I'm talking like 100-year-old brands, their customers will literally be buried in the brand because of how much they self-identify with what the brand stands for. It's unbelievable.
When I watched you talk about the guy who got buried
Harley,
his hog and his
I'll tell the
Harley, and I
story.
was like glued to every word you were saying like that. And then also I went like this to myself. I gave myself a high five in the air, which is something all of our students do, right? Like you nailed it.
Yeah.
Because we have had students, or let's
Uh-huh.
call all of our client students because we're a school, right?
Totally.
Tattoo what would she do on themselves?
I'm telling you, you've made it.
That understand they are mind magicians,
Yeah.
right? That understand that when they certify, they become world changers.
Exactly.
So I feel so grateful because you're putting words to this, and I'm here for everyone to kick
Yeah.
ass, and I'm here for everyone to rise and make sure their message hits
Yeah.
their audience because that's how we do the damn thing,
Yeah.
right? So let's take a back step to you've been in this space for almost 20 years. You have like seen and forgotten more than anyone else, right? You have.
Mm.
Why this book? What
Mhm.
was the
Mhm.
inspiration to all of a sudden talk about identity in connection to marketing?
So this is where with your permission, and I feel so psychologically safe with you. The emotional security is like I'm in a blanket of Tracy right now. That's how it feels to be with you. Always. It's like this every single time. So I want to be a little bit more forthcoming because it's not a typical story that I share. I did not walk into 2024 with any intentions whatsoever of writing a freaking book. Now, if you're listening and you've written a book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Tracy's written a book. Like it is so hard. It's a monstrosity of a project. You're talking like what, 35,000 words, 40,000 words. I mean, it's a big juggernaut of a project, especially on the content and like just your brain out on paper and how do you do that properly. And I had never done it before, even though I like have a bazillion books that I've purchased. But I walked into 2024 with a very different roadmap than I had ever had because normally on the first of a new year, I'm like the most, yeah, new year, new you, bitch. Like I'm so excited. I'm so excited for like the first day of the month, the first day of the week, the first day of a new year. Like I just love the energy of like new beginnings, a new opportunity. Like, yeah.
Mm.
And that this 2024 was not that. It was like the radical opposite because in October of 2023, my little sister got diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer that had already spread from breast tissue to lymph nodes. And she caught it because she was only, I mean, like 32-year-olds don't get mammograms. So she literally, like in a self-examination, watching the TV, was like, "What is this?" And us thinking, "Oh, maybe it's a swollen lymph node, or it's a time of the month, whatever." Like, it's women, like.
Right.
But my mom, being, my mom, she's like, "Well, let's go check that out." And it was 100% cancer in both breasts, and it was like, so. Anyways, I walked into 2024 not having business goals, objectives, plans. I was like, am I going to lose my sister this year or not? And we're Cuban, so, like, Latin families, at least my Latin family, we're very close-knit, and so my instant reaction was to, like, just go back to the nest and be in close proximity with my sister, my parents, because everybody's identity was shaken, let's just put it that way,
Mhm.
and certainly mine too, because I think I've always identified as a healthy person or a fit individual, but watching a 32-year-old fight for her life and me having 2 little kids and a husband who need me desperately, I'm like, "I can't do this to them. This can't be my story. I can't have this happen to me." And so my identity has like in extension to trying to be fit and healthy. It's now like, how do I live to 100? How do I become a centurion? How do I call that part of myself longevity. And she scans barcodes of food labels now to see what's toxic and not toxic and carcinogenic. It's like we've gone to another extreme. So my identity was changing. My sister's identity. You want to talk about like identity? Who she was pre-cancer diagnosis, and now she is a breast cancer patient, a part of the breast cancer community. Like, the breast cancer community and foundation and organization, like, it's one of the biggest in the world. Like, everybody has seen the pink. We've all seen the pink ribbons. We've all seen the pink, the walks. We've seen all of these campaigns, especially from a marketing standpoint. And we've all viewed it with, like, some, affection.
Mhm.
It's wildly different when you are now on the other side of that
Mm.
pink wall.
Mhm.
I remember the first time I saw it in the airport, it, like, made me cry because I'm like, "My sister is one of those," like,
Yeah.
that really hit me. And so 2024 was a completely different year identity-wise for her, for me, for the family. And at some point in the year, I wrote identity on my mirror, and then fast forward, here we are with a freaking book called Identity Marketing. What are the chances?
Okay, so let's just take it from there. First of all, my heart is just so open and so with you. It's so resonant. My mom fought cancer, unfortunately. She
Yeah,
passed, so that was years ago. But my best friend, who is coming out with a book because of her new identity, she had breast cancer, double mastectomy,
exactly.
right? I think what I want to just hold for everyone here and illuminate is like until it's like everything is external and not part of something you identify with, and then you have an experience of it that is like hits home and is in your home.
Immediately.
And
Yep.
then all of a sudden, that thing that was like, oh, it's in my periphery, and I know pink
Mm-mm.
ribbons mean X.
Mhm.
But then when now all of a sudden, it becomes woven into your identity and you actually identify with it. And that's just an important thing to like, okay, everyone sit with that. So, was it like you're in the shower and you get the hit that this connects to marketing? Was it like you're going like,
Yeah.
give me walk me through that intimate piece?
That's really I mean, and it's so funny. I have a friend, a really good friend. She is known for her fabulous hair, by the way. It's just luscious. But she tells me all the time, she's like, God talks to me in the shower. Like when you're naked and afraid. Like, so whether it's those shower drops from the shower head or it's on a walk or in like those little quiet moments in the morning or you're waking at like for me, sometimes I wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning and sometimes I'm like, I have visions. Like, I'm like, so it just depends, right? I think all of us have that Walt Disney essence where we're like, it just, whether it drops from the
Yeah.
universe, from God come in, right?
Yeah.
And so when I first wrote identity on the mirror, it had nothing to do with marketing.
Mhm.
I just knew that I was going through an identity change and I was wrestling with my sister's identity change and how some people were showing up for her and other people weren't showing up for like it was just right. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then I started working with an IFS therapist, which is internal family systems. And that's another like a very specific modality where it's like your internal parts and parts of yourself and and they have conversations and they have voices and they have things that they want to say and um so really it was in the self this is so fun by the way telling you this because this is so up your alley. It's like you're like
I know,
my
I'm
no
like,
sister. I know, so I'm having all these the self-reflection that occurs after your sister gets aggressive breast cancer and it's not genetically based. Like we all got tested.
Mhm.
Hers is not DNA. Mine is not DNA, meaning it's her body made it. And
Yeah.
you can blame hormones and like you can blame, we'll never 100% know, but it was not a genetic mutation and nor do I carry it. And no, nor does my mother or my father or anyone in our family. So that's like the most terrifying part because you're like,
Mhm.
what the hell? And so
Mhm.
I'm in this battle with myself trying to figure out like, how do I never have this be my story? How is it making me feel? Why am I sad, but also mad? Why am I mad? Why am I mad at my sister? Why am I mad at my parents? Why am I crying for like lots of feels in this identity evolution. Now, as you know, though, I'm running a program called Rainmaker Residency, which is up leveling two humans' identities in a business sense. So I say, hey, you see, beloved, beautiful CEO who's doing everything, chief everything officer. Maybe you shouldn't be your own chief marketing officer anymore. How lovely would that be? But in order for me to have you let go of an identity that you are probably proud of, you probably like pride yourself in your marketing savviness. If not, you wouldn't even be this far. I have to give you an identity to replace it with, or else it's not going to work and you're going to sabotage your marketer. So I call my CEOs visionaries and I give them a visionary KPI. And then I give my marketers who are replacing those CEOs the identity of rainmaker. Like, and rainmakers, we make it rain. And we're like, it's a vibe. And so I'm having this identity crisis personally behind the shadows. I'm running a program where I'm seeing corporate or business oriented people have their identity crisis in their evolution within the constructs of a business. And that's when all of a sudden things started. I'm like, wait, I've been doing identity work forever. I just didn't call it that.
Yes. Okay. So then, what is identity marketing?
Identity marketing is connecting your brand so deeply with your customers' self concept, who they see themselves, how they identify in the world, that they literally will be buried in your brand, which is why the story of Harley Davidson is so good. Because if you know a Harley hog in your life, you know that it's not uncommon that these individuals of this world will be buried in a Harley Davidson casket in their riding leathers, or in the case of Billy Stanley, taxidermy style on top of his 1960s Harley Davidson, like actual bike. So, but it's not just Harley Davidson. I think about Taylor Swift Swifties. I think about Jeepers. I mean, there's countless. You have it. You have your mind magicians. Like there's countless examples where people want to upgrade themselves. And in part of that, we want to make sure that it has name and meaning and context. This is not just like cutesy community names. We're talking, I mean, like really profound association with a capitalistic brand. Like that's what's I think what's crazy. We're not talking about nonprofits. We're talking
Mhm.
about brands that make money
Mhm.
and people literally will be buried as a hog, not a Harley buyer.
Let's go into a few examples, right? Because I know we touched on the Harley one, but
Yeah.
what are a few examples of what identity marketing looks like
Yeah.
in application?
Hmm.
Because, and I want to just say this because it's on all the things I've been reading and watching as you are doing this
Hmm.
gorgeous gift to the world. It's replacing buy this
Hmm.
with be this.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I just love that. I just love that. I love that. So, because I know right now our listeners are like, okay, good. So, how do I do this? Like, give me an
Yeah.
example. And then
Yeah.
I'd love to then flow into then where does someone start who's like, I do great work, right? Because I also
Yeah.
want to say to these beautiful, beautiful service providers, you got to be good at what you do. You
Yeah,
got
of
to be
course.
great at what you do. You
Of
need to
course.
become exceptional at what you do. And once you
100%.
are that, then whatever identity marketing V is about to walk us
Totally.
through is going to stick.
Yeah, the last thing I'm gonna do is give to the marketplace another tactic to manipulate. No, thank you. Let's not do that, right? So, no, no, no. I've worked for those people and I ran as soon as I realized that they weren't who they said they were and,
Mhm.
wolf in sheep's clothing type of individuals that you and I both know.
Yeah.
So I'm not here for that. I'm not here for another gimmick, another sales tack, and another like. Don't just go to your website right now and be like, change out your buy this call to action to like become this. Like, please don't do that.
Mm.
Please don't. Do us all a favor. But with that said, if you are a phenomenal service provider, brand business that actually can transform someone, there could possibly not be a better marketing medium for you to talk about what it is that you do than identity marketing. And it will also feel life giving because I think the most sincere service providers hate selling themselves. It feels like a form of prostitution. Like, do I really have to do it this way in order for me to like help people? I just want to help people. And that's all we want you to do too. So let's not say buy this or pitch slap your way to a purchase. Let's invite people to become something they already desire to become by getting more articulate in that messaging. So that's what the book is all about. The book actually teaches like a really actually, I'm gonna be honest, it's like a 4-step easy process where you find the identity that people like the language, they're already using it. Swifties, they already call themselves Swifties. Hogs, it was them. The people call themselves hogs. They actually tied pigs to the back of a bike. Like that wasn't created by the brand. So 9 times out of 10, if you're already in the line of work of human transformation, your people will want to call themselves something even if you're not doing it yet. So, like, we can find it or we can find their language, and then we do the marketing magic around it. And the whole book will, I mean, it's a how-to book for sure. So, like, it's all prescribed right there and then for, less than $20. So, like, have at it.
Yeah.
But, like, I think the most important thing with identity marketing, other than it's just not another gimmick or a cutesy community thing, is understanding, and this is where you and I can really explore this, is like the psychology of identity is deep. Like, it is one of the deepest psychological principles that people can understand, and we're still figuring it out. There's still conversation around what that actually means, but what we know to be true, regardless of the source and, like, where the brain lights up in the scans,
Mhm.
is that we feel safer when in the community of others of our kind, and we need to know what our kind is, and how do you do that without the external representation of that community. And so, like, I don't know, I just think it's so fun when we look at some of the different examples of identity marketing, and I think what I really wanna do on this podcast with you, Tracy, because like I know it's fun to talk about the sexy big brands, but you don't have to be famous like Taylor Swift. You do not have to have the 120-year tenure of Harley Davidson, and you certainly don't need to have like the budget of a Barbie brand to leverage the psychology of identity. You can be a solopreneur and still invite your people to become something that they desire to become through your help.
From a kind of geek out on identity thing, the identity is the cornerstone of our reality,
Everything,
right?
everything.
The cornerstone, it's the cornerstone of our reality. And it's also how we create the
Mhm.
results of reality that we live
Mhm.
in.
Mhm.
And we get to evolve our identities because it's the only way to fulfill your purpose. It's the
Mhm.
only way to create more different. It's the only way to, you know, activate your greatness, all those beautiful platitudes that are all accurate, right?
Mhm.
And the thing that's important that, it makes so much sense when you just said it's like you identify with it and then you are in this kind of circle or community with your tribe, with other like-minded of
Yep.
kind identity. And the reason why that sticks is because of the safety that happens inside of your system as a result, right?
100.
So identity is rooted ultimately in subconscious and core belief, right? So if
Mhm.
something comes at you and you don't identify with it, it feels like someone's trying to kill you, like it's a direct threat. And you're like, oh, hell no. And it doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be conscious. It's just like someone's coming at what I stand for, who I am, what I
Yeah.
identify with, right? So I'm connecting the dots right now for me and the listeners, and that is like what makes this identity marketing paradigm so sticky and loving and elegant is that it also allows for safety in the individual that is being given the opportunity to say yes to whatever it is that you help them with, right? Because
Well,
belonging, that sense of belonging.
I think it's interesting because, like you said, because identity is the root of all things, it's also the thing that sustains us in our behavioral changes. So I talk about this in the book and I give full credit where credit is due, but like chapter 2 of James Clear Atomic Habits, he makes that argument right from the jump where he's like, "Oh, you want to develop a habit? The worst thing that you can do is have it be an outcomes-based habit. Like, oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy so that I can get healthy and I can be fit." And it's like, no, 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 no. Versus habits that stick is because I already identify as a fit person. And now my actions and my purchases are an affirmation of who I see myself as.
Yes, exactly.
Because I am a fit person, I wear fit clothing or I buy certain things or like right because it's internal out, not external in. And
Mhm.
so like I remember reading that book. I've read it multiple times. So I remember reading the book after like the identity marketing like lens came on my life. And I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what's wrong with marketing.
Mhm.
We've been doing marketing bass backwards this whole time because majority of marketing is outcomes based. Oh, if you buy this, you can have these things. And here's the features and the benefits. It's all outcome based, outcome based. But that's bass backwards. It's really should be identity first, outcome second. And I don't know if we want to get into this because it can be controversial, but I do think that one of these macro moments in time where you really see the difference between identity in its different forms is in a political cycle
Mm.
because most of marketing will be what we call identity politics, which is like black, white, male, female, young, old, this, that, like think about like the demographic checklist.
Mhm.
And I think it's very evident that we're starting to see these political parties that lean too hard on the demographic identity labels lose versus the parties that are offering a more aspirational identity that has nothing to do with your labels, which is really interesting. And so I think I this and again, I only say that because we're on the backside of the 2024 election,
Yeah.
that groups that were supposed to vote one way surprised everybody. And that's not going to stop. And I by the way, I say that because I think both parties can learn that lesson before it's too late for the next one.
Mhm.
But that was something that was really interesting to me to watch that play out.
And I will also say in that context, the aspirational approach is so much more loving,
Oh, yeah.
right? To me, it's also, and this comes back down to that like gross why I had an aversion to marketing for so long,
Mm.
because it just felt so wrong internally, right? Like why do I have to identify a pain point and then pour half a bottle of salt on that pain point to get you, the buyer, to show up for yourself, right? And I also right now I want to speak this into the buyers that are listening. You need to step up also. Because if you continue to live in this perpetual, like the only way I'm going to have urgency is if I live by this external world where I need 17 fucking bonuses that don't mean shit, right? Where's your own internal urgency? Where's your own
Yeah.
agency, your own sovereignty, so that we can elevate up
Yeah.
into this identity marketing, into this is who you can become. This is what's available to you because it is the responsibility of both parties. Marketing gets to become loving and conscious and elegant, like you are bringing, thank fucking God. And buyers, I need you to not like need some big, shiny, distracting thing to push you over the edge because that's not helpful.
This is what I loved about 2024. I know 2024 was a hard year. First of all, it was politically stifling. It was like suffocating as hell. But on top of that, people didn't buy. And I know that, like, as a business owner, I'm like, well, that's shitty. But like, what I also think, here's the positive. I think the smarter the buyer, the more that the genuine ones, the real ones, the sincere service providers are actually going to win the long term game, not just the short term pitch slapping bitch fest. I
Mhm.
genuinely believe the more discerning our buyers get, the more that they withhold their trust, not to everybody and anybody, but once they realize, because they're going to do their homework, and they realize your sincerity because you're speaking to their core identity and you're being consistent AF in and out every single day, talking like that, inviting them in that manner, we're going to see a huge pendulum swing where people are going to work with those that speak to their souls and not just to their wallets. And that's what's really exciting when people start to realize that, like, yeah, these overinflated $90,000 PDFs, who said it was a $90,000 PDF? Like, that shit is going to stop. It has to.
Yeah, it does have to. And it also is in alignment with the acceleration of consciousness and people,
Yes.
right? All of it's
Yes.
connected. And I am like genuinely excited because this is the only way I've been operating,
Yeah.
right? Like we don't do bonuses, we don't do false
Mhm. Mhm.
scarcity.
No, your marketing has always been generosity, let's be honest.
Yeah, 100 generosity and like let me help you realize your own internal urgency.
Yeah.
What is it that you desire and who do you need to become to do that? And I also love what you said before about the James Clear work because
Mhm.
that's another thing and I think not I think I know it applies to both your work in marketing and our work in internal identity evolution
Mhm.
is where I see so many people or women kind of come to us and go, okay, wait a second, I need something that works, is because they've been trying to externally throw like hacks
I
and
know.
tools on their current identity and they want some big shift. And it's like, no, when you come in and evolve your identity, which is the most painful, hardest, most uncomfortable journey,
Yeah.
and everything that you want externally falls into place because you're finally dealing with the root cause, which is your identity. And I feel like the same thing is for marketing. You can't be like, well, just like you said, don't go to your website and just change, buy this to be this. It has to be like from the bottom all the way up, thoughtful, rooted, connected,
Yep.
patient. Where does
Yeah.
patience come into identity marketing? Because it feels like it's part of it.
It is part of it, and that's what we saw in 2024 anyways, was the extension and the prolonging of the buyer cycle. People, not that they weren't buying, but they were just taking a lot longer to buy. And again, that's not going to change. Like these new characteristics or attributes or behaviors that our buyers are starting to exhibit, they shouldn't disencourage you. I mean, I know 2024 felt like a reckoning year for a lot of small businesses, but it should encourage you because again, those that can play the long game, not to be very Simon Sinek, but like the infinite game are the ones that are going to win. And that's why you see the Harley Davidsons of the world. You see these companies have 100-year history. But again, in the book, this is why I love the what we've done in the book, because we have a whole section about like the undeniable power of identity marketing. Before you even get to the framework, we just show big brands, little brands, tons of examples where using identity ethically, let me just put that in there, ethically leads to the greatest comeback brand stories you'll ever know, collaborations, disruption of uber saturated marketplaces. Like we're seeing these underdogs because of the power of what they stand for and an invitation for others who have the same core values also join the movement. What they're doing when they don't have any marketing budget or they have an intern of 15 bucks or some of the greatest stories in the book of an intern who literally got paid $15 an hour that's disrupting the beverage industry. Like literally it is kind of that like shortcut or competitive advantage that you wouldn't have otherwise in the absence of a big team and the absence of a big budget.
I also love that because it allows the visionary
Mhm.
and whoever is supporting them in
Mhm.
the execution of this
Mhm.
to realize they're a category of one,
Oh,
to get out of the right? Because it's like the low level things connect to other low level things, right? So when you're playing the
yeah.
old school, I'll say prior to identity marketing game, then you end up looking around you and it's like, who's doing what? What do I need to do to get XYZ? And there's a lot of comparison and the energy of what you just said. It's like, and once you understand this and you identify it, or you pay attention to your clients who have already
Mhm.
started using certain language, it
Mhm.
allows you to realize your uniqueness and it doesn't matter how quote busy or saturated your particular industry is, no one will ever be you because our identities are as unique as our fingerprints are. Therefore the way we leverage identity marketing
Yeah.
delivers the same thing to the organization, and that allows everyone to just go right,
Yeah.
instead of this like
Yeah.
weird energy that circulates historically of like business as an emergency, like every just
Yeah.
fucking it's like, oh my god.
Well, and it elevates the conversation, it elevates the relationship that you're forming with your buyer too, because I think that's the one thing when you see all of these really scarcity driving bonuses or urgency this or FOMO that,
Mm,
what it also tells me is that I'm assuming that you are not intelligent. You're not capable. You're not smart. Because if you were, I wouldn't have to like force you, fear monger you into buying from me on Friday before cart closes. And so I think that's a thing that we forget is that people, at the end of the day, we do want to be perceived and known to be kind and smart and capable and good. And so, like, this elevates that conversation. This elevates the way in which you communicate with somebody who you're inviting into your world, that you're inviting them to become their best, not become you. No one's I'm not inviting anybody to become Veronica. Let me be extremely clear. This is not mini Veronica factories or mini Tracy factories. I'm inviting you to become the best version of you, and
Mm.
I just happen to have these resources, tools, abilities, services to help you get there. That is a radically different conversation with somebody who's contemplating working with you.
Yeah, I'm so deeply grateful for it because it's trusting and
Yeah.
it's loving and
Yeah.
it's highly conscious. And
Yeah.
that's where the world is moving. That's what the new world is.
Exciting.
And you are like gifting it to us in this gorgeous,
Mm.
gorgeous book, which everybody listening, you're going to buy the book. And not even like something you think about. You buy the book. The link is going to be in the show notes. And before you share V, like where everyone can hang with you or
Sure.
the best place, I have a wrap question.
Okay.
I would like you to imagine
Okay.
that the entire world is listening and captive right now. No distraction. And your beautiful voice and message is being piped right into their ears. What do you need them to know?
You deserve the aspirations that you have. That there's a reason that you dream as big as you do. That there's nothing wrong with you if you haven't gotten to that finish line yet. Um, that you are worthy of everything that you desire to become and have and pay it forward. And I think that's really important that people understand that. Like, I wouldn't be this ambitious if that something was wrong with me. If I believe in a creator or a universe or my highest self, there's nothing wrong with me for seeking more, wanting something better from those that I love in myself, right? And I think a lot of women and men oftentimes will shame themselves out of their own dreams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am so grateful. Everyone, all the links to Veronica's genius and everything is going to be in the show notes. Where's the best place to hang with you?
Well, I'm the only Veronica Romney that I know. So you can hang with me on social media at Via Romney, but all things book. If you want to enter our world, we have a playlist and a quiz. And it's like think Harry Potter. We've done the same thing. So everything can be found on identitymarketingbook.com.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you, V. I love you.
I love
Until
you.
next time, everyone, remember there's always more love. Mwah.